Now, what is the prosperity gospel? Let's talk about that for just a moment, because best case scenario, that's what this is. According to Harvard, the prosperity gospel is a fast-growing, theologically conservative movement frequently associated with Pentecostalism, evangelicalism, and charismatic Christianity that emphasizes the believer's ability to transcend poverty or illness through devotion and positive confession. According to the Gospel Coalition, the prosperity gospel actually goes by many names and brands. Some people are going to call it the health and wealth gospel, or name it and claim it theology, or the word of faith movement. But however you call it, this doctrine teaches that God wills the financial prosperity and physical well-being of his people, and that faith, positive speech, and get this, donations to select Christian ministries can increase one's material wealth and health. Now, even though a lot of these churches are not saying this explicitly, they are teaching implicitly, as you have heard time and time again, God is going to bless you when you give to our church. And the more sacrificially you give, the more money you give, the more it hurts, the more God is going to bless you. That is textbook prosperity gospel. Now, you'll also see that seed language we just talked about, the seed language is a concept that is heavily tied to the prosperity gospel. Basically, you plant a seed, which is giving something valuable as your seed. Number two, you expect a miracle. That's literally what it says. You expect a miracle and have faith that your act of giving will trigger divine intervention. And step number three, you harvest a miracle and you receive the divine blessings in a manifold manner, and sometimes in financial forms. This seed language is a huge part of the prosperity gospel. And all of these churches that are using these miracle offerings, that are using this language, they are preaching a false gospel and they are preaching the prosperity gospel. This isn't my opinion. This is what the facts, this is what the data says. And I hope that you're seeing how this language being used can actually show you if you're at a church that is preaching the prosperity gospel and manipulating you through miracle offerings. Now, some churches, they're going to take up special offerings and it's going to be fine, but you'll notice these red flags aren't there. They're not using this language. They're not manipulating you in this way. But maybe one of the scariest parts of the prosperity gospel involved in these miracle offerings is the prosperity gospel's origins. Most people don't know this, but if you actually go to Britannica and you look just for the facts, it's going to tell you that the prosperity gospel was actually born in the New Thought movement, and it came from a cult movement. It's cultish in nature. The prosperity gospel's origins are found in the occult. And if you don't want to take Britannica's word for it, the Gospel Coalition goes back and says the same thing. And we have allowed these cult-like practices of name it and claim it type theology of give to get enter into the Christian church. And now we've attached it to these miracle offerings where every October through December, we fleece people out of money and manipulate them out of their money so that they can receive miracles and they can please God. And I think that is incredibly displeasing to the God that I serve. Now, the prosperity gospel movement has grown incredibly fast. It's attached itself to a lot of modern Western Christianity, but why did it grow so fast? Well, I'll show you and we'll talk about it. But the number one reason why it grew so fast is the prosperity gospel really took root in the 80s during the televangelist movement. And television, mass media, was the primary tool that helped spread prosperity gospel teachings. And it actually, most people would take it all the way back to Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts and the people who came after him, the kind of proteges he had, like Kenneth Copeland, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, Benny Hinn, Pat Robertson, all of these televangelists, they helped spread this prosperity gospel movement by getting on TV and giving people this health and wealth, name it, claim it, manipulative theology that got behind it. But television was really just the beginning. If you look today, who preaches the prosperity gospel, this teaching that was handed down from Oral Roberts is now all over much of Christianity, and these preachers that you're going to see online, you're still going to see on TV, and the Gospel Coalition gives us different examples like T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen, Creflo Dollar, all preachers that you have likely heard of, and some of these, like Joel Osteen, right now are in the middle of their miracle offering campaign and miracle offering season. But another reason why the prosperity gospel took root and took hold so well and so strongly in American evangelicalism is, just like this article says, prosperity gospel preachers often receive undying support from their members because their members live vicariously through the pastor. If our pastor is successful, our church must be successful, and that means they're pleasing God, and we must be pleasing God, right? People want to see their pastor be successful and feel like that means they're going to be successful. It also talks about the fact that this leadership structure we have in the modern day megachurch, where you have the CEO type pastor, the CEO model, and this article from 9marks.org actually calls it a monarchy, right? But you have these CEO type pastors that people want to live vicariously through. They don't allow anyone to question them. They don't allow anyone to push back on them. And if you don't trust them or trust what they're doing with your money, that means you don't trust the church, and that means you don't trust God. So this model of leadership has also added to the prosperity gospel being able to take root at this level, and these miracle offerings becoming a kind of normal occurrence every year in the modern megachurch. And like we talked about a moment ago, seed faith and this seed language is a huge part of the prosperity gospel movement. The Gospel Coalition says that seed faith is the cornerstone of the movement. And they say that this doctrine of seed faith is basically financial giving to get. It's going to yield a harvest of blessings, or in this case, a harvest of miracles. What are those miracles you're going to get? You're going to get financial prosperity when you give, physical healing, and other forms of favor. The Gospel Coalition describes it this way. Essentially, the prosperity gospel represents a transactional relationship between the believer and God, facilitated through the financial gift. So when I give a good enough financial gift, then it is going to better my relationship with God, and that's why I'm going to get blessed. That's why I'm going to receive these miracles. There's a lot of people, and maybe that's you who's watching today, and there's a lot of people in our churches who are a part of these miracle offerings or are a part of the prosperity gospel, and they have no idea. They don't think, maybe you don't think that you're a part of this, but you're seeing all of these red flags line up, and that may just give you pause to say, I need to ask questions. What exactly are we teaching here? And am I being manipulated to give in ways that God has not called me to give? Now, of course, there are a lot more red flags to the prosperity gospel in these miracle offerings than just seed faith and just manipulative language, but giving to get is another dangerous but common marker, a dangerous but common red flag that the prosperity gospel and these miracle offerings have gotten into your church. And if you want to read more and learn more about that outside of this video, the Gospel Coalition has an incredible article, 9 Things You Should Know About the Prosperity Gospel, that was written earlier this year. And that is a fantastic resource for anyone who's wanting to learn more about it. But the point is this: these miracle offerings and the prosperity gospel part of these miracle offerings, it's super common and it's super dangerous. And when I say common, I really do mean common. According to a 2023 study from Lifeway Research, they found that more than half, 52% of American Protestant churchgoers, say that their church teaches God will bless them if they give more money to their church and charities. And 1 in 4, 24%, strongly agreed with this teaching, right? That if they give more to their church, God's going to bless them more. That is not biblical. It is dangerous. And when you pair that with this miracle offering season and miracle offering movement, every October through December, churchgoers who love the Lord, who love Jesus, are being manipulated into giving away money to things and causes that they never meant to give to, things that God never called them to give to. Because as you're going to see, a lot of the causes you think you're giving to are not actually the causes that you're giving to, but it's not where your money's actually going. But we're going to get into that just a little bit later.